Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian bringing you another building on our Call of Cthulu project. Call of Cthulu stroke Acton Cthulu. We convert the roleplay characters to do tabletop games as well, so it's useful. This is a barn, believe it or not, and this is the kind of barn you get in the Americas. You also get them in England as well, although we don't tend to go for the gambrel roof. That seems to be a Dutch thing. So outside I have some English Civil War figures, because this is the period we're playing our Call of Cthulhu game in. But you can also use it for American Civil War, because barns didn't change. So this does quite well as an American Civil War barn, so we can use it for our American Civil War game just as we use it for Call of Cthulhu in the 1600s, so it doesn't make any difference. It's quite cool. Now, I will first of all start the video off by apologising for the doors not moving. These doors are solid. That's my bad. I meant to have the doors open and close, but I'd actually built this whole section already, and when you make a door open and close, you put the mechanism inside. So what you would do is cut a piece out from underneath this wood, put the hinge in so the door would open and close, and then you put the wood over the top, and that means you've got a fully functioning door. But I was watching a film at the time and I was putting it together. I stopped thinking, my brain didn't work, and I ended up having a solid building that I couldn't put opening doors in. So that's my bad. I will remember next time not to do it, but these doors unfortunately are solid and don't move, which is a bit of a shame really. But this is the front of the building. The roof has been quite badly damaged, probably due to age and not looking after it properly. I do love this effect of the sort of moss growing on the roof. Incidentally, you can see the moss on the roof. When you put the tiles on a building, if you tend to have little bits of glue dropping out from the underneath the tiles, so just sprinkle some sand over it, and then when you spray it up and paint it, you have this nice little moss effect. It's quite good. It's a nice little thing to do, and I do it on all my buildings, so I sometimes deliberately put more glue than I need so I can get some decent moss effect on it. This is the back. This is where you winch up and down the hay bales. I'm sure you've seen it. Another side door, and that's the roof. So back to the gambrel roof thing. I needed to build something with a gambrel roof, because in Lovecraft everything has a gambrel roof. All he talks about is gambrel roofs. He's obsessed with gambrel roofs. I think he read about them in a book or saw them and said, you know what, I'm just going to talk about gambrel roofs. So one thing you notice, every single town has gambrel roofs, usually covered in moss. So this is what it is. It's a gambrel roof covered in moss. This is the roof. We don't go in for gambrel roofs in Britain. As I said, it is a Dutch thing. So, but I would assume the Americans had a reason for doing it. As far as I understand it, roofs, the shape of a roof is dependent on the weather you get. So in England we have sort of 45-degree angle roofs. That's so rain falls off of the roof. Up in Iceland and Norway you have a 90-degree angle roof or something, and that means snow can't collect on the roof. And that's as far as I understand it. I'm probably entirely wrong, but anyway, I don't know. I might be right. This is the roof, and it comes off. With our stuff that's also used for Civil War, I haven't tended to do the roofs the same as normal roofs, so it's not a solid roof that you take off. It's kind of half and half. So that's the roof. It's nice and solid, and it can be kept together so it can't break. So this will survive storage, and also it strengthens the walls, so the walls are nice and solid. Inside you can see a shoggoth. Yes, that's what it was used for in the last game we played. There was a shoggoth in the barn. There's always a shoggoth in the barn. Don't go into barns, they have shoggoths in them. That's the shoggoth. Nice little chap. I'll just move him out of the way. So this is the interior. We have floors in the interior. That's so when we play our games we can actually use the barn as a fortification. And also barns did have a top floor generally to keep hay, because it keeps it off the ground and it means it could dry out easier. Basically, that's what it's for. Now you may notice an interesting thing that I didn't know. The interior of the barn is wattle and daub, or what we call wattle and daub. This is it stucco and ashlar? Wattle and daub will do. We have a wooden frame with wicker nailed across it, and then you plaster it in, usually with mud or plaster, whatever. And that seals it and stops the heat from getting out. And the Americans, for some reason, put wooden planking all over it. Now, I only found this out when I was actually designing this. There's a place in somewhere in New England, in America, and they're going through really old buildings like this from the early settlement times. And they're taking the wood off and replacing it because it's all rotted. It's 300 years old, so it's falling apart. And underneath they found out that they're actually all Tudor wooden frames. So all these old buildings you see, these old wooden buildings, they're not solid plank wood with a frame. They tend to be, or the earlier ones tend to be, this wattle and daub stuff with wood over the top. And I didn't know that, and I was actually fascinated. So when I came to building the fat barn, instead of having it solid wood, I did that. I put the frame inside it, because I thought it would look good, because you know it does. So that's the whole thing. I don't know, it was a decent project to build. So as with most things, I think I've already mentioned this, we're playing the Cthulu Wars, which is the Cthulu Wars in the United States battle against the mythos. And in Cthulu Wars, of course, we have the greatest picture ever made by anyone to do with Cthulhu. This is my favourite. In the Cthulhu Wars book, you have fighting and stuff going on against the mythos throughout the Americas, from the very early conquistadors arriving right through English settlement, then the American Civil War, and then on to Innsmouth, the 1920s, when the whole Innsmouth incident happened. And of course, in the late 1800s, you had Elijah, what we call him, in Innsmouth. He had lots of stuff going on. So we're setting our games in the Americas generally, built around the mythos. So our game set in the 1700s, which is what these chaps are for, these English Civil War figures are for. All these buildings will do for that, but they will also do for the American Civil War too. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. We're going to be using the Civil War figures for Cthulhu, but we are also going to be able to play American Civil War games as well. And this building will be able to be used for the American Civil War games. So that seems like a good sort of idea to us, and we thought it was a good idea. So this is the first kind of American style building. No, we've done the plantation house, but this is the first one that can be really used for the American Civil War battlefield, because we're not going to be using a plantation house in a game, not in a American Civil War game. So this gives us some scenery for our American Civil War game as well. So it's quite useful. It's a multi-purpose building. So there we have it. It's a pretty decent build. It's nice and solid, so it's not going to get damaged. I've tried to make all the buildings I've made recently resistant to storage. We have a problem with storage. Things tend to get piled up on top of each other. We've got a lot of 40k stuff piled up in the back room. We've also got a load of Napoleonic stuff, which is over here. And kind of storing it's not too easy. Making these buildings this way makes it easier to store them, because you can actually stack them on top of each other. They're quite robust, they don't get damaged, and they can withstand quite a bit. So if we do when these ones go into storage, it won't matter, they shouldn't get damaged. Hence the reason I did the roof this way, so the walls won't bend or anything. So they're a long-term, it's a long-term proposition I've got going for it. So just pop the roof back on, and there we have it, a nice American barn. Ideal for Cthulhu wars, ideal for the American Civil War, ideal for the War of Independence. The same design is still used today, so you can even use it for modern warfare if you feel like it. So there we have it. And of course, best thing of all, it gives me a building with a gambrel roof, so you know it's Lovecraft, because you have to have that gambrel roof. Right, so I've blathered far too long, so thank you very much for watching. Leave any comments in the comment section if you feel like it, and let me know what you think of it. Leave a like, please, very much. I like getting likes because it makes the video go slightly further. And thank you very much for watching. This has been Imperator Vespasian. Goodbye.